As an Inquisitor, you may be a force of divine power and incredible teamwork abilities, but you still have to make careful selection of your equipment. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Going on with the first edition Pathfinder Inquisitor guide today, talking about their equipment selection, and as always, I try to find a couple of unique or interesting things to throw in there. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit that subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes such as that, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now, let's talk about the gear that you want to pick up as an Inquisitor, and no gear could be any less important than your weaponry. And for this particular build, we're going to want to pick up a falchion, doing 2d4 damage plus strength and a half for your strength modifier. It also has an 18 to 20 crit range with a ×2 multiplier. This is going to be a handy bit of damage output for you, especially since you're not going to get a large number of iterative attacks to begin with, so you're going to want to try to maximize your damage output, hence why we take feats like improved critical to expand that crit range even further. Some enchantments you're going to want to consider are going to start off with impervious. Your weapon is immune to natural and magical means of rust, warp, and rotting. You also get double the hit points and hardness, and the break DC and combat maneuver defense for the wielder each gain a bonus equal to double the weapon's enhancement bonus. So, if you end up with a +3 weapon, that's a +6 bonus to the break DC and combat maneuver defense. And this is an enchantment that is only going to cost you 3,000 gold pieces. Then we also want to consider something like Truthful, which will help you to ignore the mischance of illusions like blur, displacement, and invisibility. You still need to know which square to attack, but the fact that you can ignore that mischance modifier is great. This will count as a +2 bonus to the overall enhancement score of the weapon, and remember, +10 is the max total that you can have, up to a +5 enhancement modifier and +5 points for any enhancements, or you can mix and match it to a +3 enhancement modifier for your hit and attack and your damage, and then still have a total of +7 to play with for different enchantments. Also, consider looking at enhancements like spell stealing, which allows you to make a caster level check using the caster level of the weapon itself, plus other modifiers to steal beneficial spell effects from your enemies. When you hit that opponent, you make that caster level check, and you can immediately know and identify the different enhancement effects that they may have on themselves, such as, well, blur, haste, bull strength, any of those enhancements, and you can steal them for yourself for up to 1 minute or whenever the spell effect ends, whichever occurs first. And this counts as a considerable +3 bonus there, but it does help you to save on the number of spell slots you're burning in a given day. But going on from there, we have another weapon to consider, and that's the composite longbow of strength. Now, starting off, you may actually just have a longbow, or maybe even a baseline form of a composite longbow of strength, but you can get others with a higher and higher strength rating on them to make better and better use of your strength bonus. This will deal 1d8 damage plus your strength bonus with a critting on a 20 and getting a ×3 multiplier, and has a range increment of 110 feet. Now, you're not building in to be a ranged attacker, but taking distance will double your range increment and count as a +1 bonus, and speed will grant you an extra attack at your full base attack bonus, and this also counts as a +3 bonus total. Also, considering enhancements that only cost money, like impervious, not impervious, but there's a version of impervious that applies towards wooden weapons, ranged, such as this kind of a ranged weapon, a bow, that will make it harder for your weapon to be warped or otherwise destroyed or decomposed. Definitely worth having, and this will still make you at least a reasonably reliable ranged attacker, especially when you mix in things like your judgments. Now, for armor, Armor, you're definitely going to want to lean into to the heaviest medium armor that you can get. Or if you do follow this guide and take heavy armor, we have a heavy armor option following after this. But taking a breastplate will give you +6 to your armor class and have a -4 armor check penalty on it. Your speed will be reduced down to 20 feet, but that defense is absolutely worth it for you. And when you pick this up, consider getting the moderate fortification enhancement. It's a +3 bonus, but it gives you a 50% chance to negate critical hits and sneak attacks. Definitely very worthwhile for you. You have a D8 for hit points and your constitution modifier, which isn't bad, but you're not going to have the same kind of staying power as, say, a fighter, paladin, or barbarian would. So this will help to keep you alive and in the fight longer. Also, enchantments like buoyant, if you're near any significant water source, or even if you're not near it, because any sort of water hazard that you can sink into will be dangerous to you, will only cost 2,000 gold pieces and help to negate armor check penalties when it comes to swimming. Then comfort will also keep your armor clean and allow you to sleep in it like it were light armor, costing only 50,000 gold pieces. Neither of these enchantments count towards the enhancement modifier limits for any of your equipment. And then determination, 1 time per day when you're at 0 or fewer hit points, the item will automatically cast the Breath of Life spell on you, healing you for 5d8 points of damage +1 per caster level, topping out at a max of +25. This costs a pretty penny at 30,000 gold pieces, but it's a penny well spent in this instance. I mean, all that gold and all those funds, you can't take it with you when you die, so spend it now and keep yourself alive for as long as possible. But as I said, ideally, being a more melee-focused build, we're going to lean into that heavy armor, and so ideally you want to take Mithril Full Plate, which will give you a +8 armor class modifier, have a maximum dexterity bonus of +3, and it gives you a -4 armor check penalty, and reduces your speed down to 20 feet. Now, enhancements that you want to consider getting for this are going to be things like advancing, which 1 round when you drop a target to 0 hit points with a melee attack, you can immediately move up to 10 feet as a free action, and this movement doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, which is and this counts as a +1 enhancement modifier. So this will allow you to each round essentially ignore the fact that you're limited to a speed of 20 feet. This is an extra 10 feet of movement right there for you. That's fantastic. This will help you very, very much. Another thing to consider throwing on would be rallying. Allies within 30 feet get a +4 morale bonus versus fear effects. Now, there is an additional kicker to this where if you have any kind of ability that provides a morale bonus against fear effects or saves against fear, then this will count as a +6 bonus, but you don't generate anything like that. Nothing like a paladin or a bard does. So, even still, this +4 modifier will be useful, especially if you're taking the domain that allows you to have an animal companion, because most animals don't have the best will saves. An animal companion certainly functions differently, but stacking on bonuses to their own saves will be helpful for you and help to keep them in the fight and supporting you so that you can make use of those teamwork feats much more reliably. Other general equipment to consider will be things like metamagic rods, especially extend. Up to 3 spells durations can be doubled with this. This doesn't apply to instant concentration or permanent spells, but this is great for all those buffing spells you might be throwing down on yourself. It will cost 5,500 gold pieces, but is absolutely worth it. Another one is just a bog standard that is great for any adventurer of any class, and that's the handy haversack. The central pouch can hold up to 80 pounds of material, while the side pouches hold up to 20 pounds, and any item you reach for in the pack is automatically on top and doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity for drawing them, though this still requires a move action, and it's reasonably affordable at 2,000 gold pieces. Sure, that's more money than most NPCs will ever see in their lives, but for you, that's just one good adventure out. Then other equipment that to consider would be another classic like the Cloak of Resistance, giving you anywhere from a +1 to a +5 resistance bonus to Fortitude, Reflex, and Will saves, costing anywhere between 1,000 gold pieces to 25,000 gold pieces, but absolutely worth it. Boosting your saves will be paramount. Also, look at getting a Headband of Inspired Wisdom, giving you either a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to Wisdom, and costing 4,000, 16,000, or 36,000 gold pieces. This boosts your spell saves DCs. This boosts all of your different class abilities that give you bonuses to various skills. This will boost the number of spells available to you per day. So absolutely a critical piece of equipment for you. And if you find anything that expands a couple of your mental stats, then either intelligence or charisma will be good for you, although I would lean more towards intelligence myself. Then we also have a Belt of Giant Strength, giving you a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to your strength score, costing the same at 4,000, 16,000, 36,000 gold pieces, like the Headband of Inspired Wisdom. Absolutely another critical stat for you to boost. This will boost your ability to hit a target and the amount of damage you're doing to a target, and nominally your push, drag, and carry weight limits. But then we go on from there to a more ideal option, and that's a Belt of Physical Might, giving you a +2, +4, or +6 enhancement bonus to 2 of your physical stats, chosen when the belt is created. Ideally, you want to grab Strength and Constitution. Strength, again, for reasons established, and Constitution because this boosts your hit point pool. It will be far more expensive though, coming in at 5,000, 20,000, or 45,000 gold pieces if you're lucky enough to be able to buy and afford such a thing. But more inexpensive items like the Snap Leaf are much more readily available. 750 gold pieces, you can break this crystalline carving of a leaf to activate a Featherfall and invisibility effect. Definitely great for you to have, allow you great dynamic explosive escapes or ability to infiltrate and harass your opponents unseen, at least for a limited time. Another item to consider is the Iridescent Spindle Ioun Stone. Coming in at 18,000 gold pieces, this will sustain a creature without air. Not something you'll use all the time, but for those moments where it comes up, it will be invaluable, whether that's an underwater environment, in the vacuum of space, or if you're in an area that's been flooded with poisons and gases and the like. So definitely a great item to have if when you need it. You won't need it all the time, but definitely useful. Then we have another classic with the Ring of Protection, giving a +1 to a +5 deflection bonus to armor class, and this also counts towards your touch and flat-footed armor classes. And this will cost another pretty penny, anywhere between the relatively inexpensive-ish 2,000 gold pieces to 50,000 gold pieces. But the next item is one that is definitely interesting, and this will be interesting for a lot of classes, and that's the Steelbone Frame. You attach this to armor to reduce the armor check penalty by 2. 3 times per day, you ignore medium and heavy armor speed penalty for 1 round. It takes 10 minutes to attach and costs 6,000 gold pieces. Presumably, you need to reattach this every time you take your armor off. So, make allowances and considerations for that, and make a point of telling your DM, I'm attaching this thing, so that way they don't blindside you with that later, especially if your DM is a little bit of a more Gygaxian bent. And lastly, we have another unique piece specifically useful for Inquisitors, and that's the Stole of Justice. This occupies the shoulder slots, and it gives you a +5 competence bonus to sense motive, creates a zone of truth for 5 minutes a day, need not be consecutive rounds, and when using Detect Chaos, Evil, Good, or Law, at the beginning of your next turn, you will gain information as if you had concentrated the full 3 rounds. If you're an Inquisitor, when using your judgment, you gain a bonus on perception and combat maneuver defense as if you were wielding a jurist weapon, which gives a +1 bonus on the first round and up to a +3 maximum by the 3rd round. So that's actually pretty nice. It's +3 is not the biggest bonus ever, but it gives it to perception and combat maneuver defense. Perception is the most rolled skill in the game, and for combat maneuver defense, since your base attack bonus isn't the greatest, any bonus into it will be important. This helps you resist things like grappling or being disarmed, things like that, so definitely great to have. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's list? Did you dislike it? Are there any pieces of equipment you would strike from this list or add in? Certainly there are items like Wands of Cure Light Wounds, which will be massively useful for you and your party. Another relatively inexpensive item, but absolutely worth it for healing up after a fight. It's the best bang for your buck. Either way, go on down to the comments below, let me know your thoughts, and we'll engage in discussion down below. And remember that if you're new here to the Gamer's Den, go on down to hit the subscribe button and become a regular member. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.